Today's video comes courtesy of our Patreon raffle winner, Quiet Chap. And if you too would like your idea for a Media Mementos video to come to life, stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll tell you how to do it. Disney villains, am I right? Before they started to suck and become one-dimensional archetypes, these baddies were sometimes the best character in their movies. Take, for example, the bowler hat guy in Meet the Robinsons, the Horned King in The Black Cauldron, Scar from The Lion King, or of course, Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Part of this is because of their depth or the layers they have to their character, but also they're the only ones in their movies that would do terrible things like abduction, murder, thievery, or anything like that. One of the few exceptions being Captain Gantu from Lilo and Stitch, who I like to consider a villain in name only. When you look at Gantu's record, personality, and history, you start to realize that maybe he's not as bad as the main characters would have you believe. Let me tell you why. I'll start this video off by talking about Gantu's life and career, and let's see if you notice a common theme running through each event. Gantu always wanted to show his father that he was just as strong, powerful, and courageous as he was. Despite having a strong relationship with his fiancée, he broke things off with her in favor of joining the Galactic Federation. And while he started off as a lowly foot soldier, he quickly worked through the ranks and became captain. Gantu was known for being a bit of an authoritarian figure. He always demanded perfection from his underlings. Everything had to be done right and right now. Whether people feared or legitimately respected Gantu was irrelevant. All that mattered was that he was the most respected figure next to the Grand Councilwoman. However, his time on top wasn't to last. Gantu was determined to retrieve an illegal alien experiment known as Experiment 626, now called Stitch. He was so determined to bring this monstrosity and its creator to justice that he went a little overboard and endangered the lives of several hundred people. Sure, Gantu wasn't trying to hurt anybody, but his fanatical devotion to his position caused him to take actions that, in the end, would cause him to lose the very position that he idolized. Now, without any people to command or any stream of income, Gantu had to take the first job offered to him, and unfortunately, that job was collecting all the illegal experiments for Dr. Hamsterville, who at this point was one of the most notorious criminals throughout the galaxy. Instead of commanding a legion of armed forces, Gantu's only helper is now Experiment 625, who, while containing all the powers of 626, is too lazy to actually use them and is more of a source of comic relief in his life, which, let's be honest here, he doesn't really need that right now. Okay, did you notice the common theme throughout Gantu's life? What he prioritizes most is his image. He wants to be seen as a commanding figure who does good things and is able to make a difference in the lives of those around him. He wanted to prove himself to his father so much that he ended things with the love of his life. He wanted to be seen as a hero by stopping 626, but unfortunately, he let this ambition blind him to his actions and caused him to go back to square one, perhaps even lower. And now Gantu's working for Hamsterville in a job that he outright hates, but sees as necessary in order to survive and, perhaps someday, reclaim the notoriety that he once had. There are several Disney villains out there who see themselves as the greatest thing ever and want to be admired by everyone around them, such as Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. But what sets Gaston aside from Gantu is, well, first of all, their species. I mean, come on. Look at them. But secondly, Gaston is fully self-serving. Everything has to be about himself. And if he doesn't get what he wants, he'll either pitch a fit, delve deeper into his narcissism, or fight dirty. Gantu, on the other hand, will do whatever he can to get by, but at the same time actively work on fixing himself and getting his old life back. The reason we don't see that a lot in Lilo and Stitch the series or the first half of Leroy and Stitch is because, in all honesty, there aren't all too many opportunities that present themselves. The only real one that surfaces is Wishy-Washy, an experiment who grants people's wishes. One of the first things that Gantu wishes for is enough money to be able to quit this Hamsterville job, and in doing so is finally able to enjoy some time to himself. In a sense, it's his reward for all the good things he's done prior to that 626 mess. But of course, at the end of the episode, everything's undone, and he has to go right back to that job that he hates and doesn't believe in. Now, I bet a lot of you are wondering, how could you consider Gantu a good guy when he's so aggressive and sometimes negligent when he's on a mission? That's because, yes, while his actions can be a bit over the top, they never come from a place of malice. Gantu will, yes, destroy some property or, like I've said before, cause some reckless endangerment, but he never wants to hurt people unless necessary, like for example when Lilo and Stitch get in his way. Now I'm sure if he had it his way, he wouldn't actively try to hurt a small child, but he's got a job to do and they're putting up a fight. That, and also, half the time they're the instigators. We'll talk about this a little bit later. Also worth noting is that Gantu's demeanor changes after the first movie. He's now gruffer, more hostile, and quicker to anger. And the reason isn't some kind of vendetta or sudden fascination with a life of crime. It's because, well, look at his situation. He's gone from being a respected hero to a lowly criminal for hire, and he's surrounded by a boss that doesn't respect him, and the most useless helper around. He never gets what he's owed. He's never given any modicum of respect. Even his lazy coworker always gives pot shots or sarcastic quips when he's trying to be an authority figure. Well, yes, Gantu and 625 are decent friends, and they have some cool moments here and there. It's not enough to pull Gantu's situation out of the mud. And even when he gets out of the work environment, he can't escape. He's always being demonized as the villain. First of all, given his size and species, he kinda stands out a bit in rural Hawaii. But now it's time to consider the main characters of the series, Lilo and Stitch. Naturally, they're on opposing sides. As Lilo, Stitch, Jumba, Pleakley, and the like, they don't want those experiments to go to Hamsterville. Because if they're under Hamsterville's control, the Galactic Federation will crumble. Practically every day, the race is on to get those experiments before Captain Gantu. And whenever they see him, it's always, look, a giant monster, let's destroy him. It's shoot first, ask questions pretty much never, only in the series finale, really. The strange thing to me is that Lilo and Stitch know for a fact that Gantu is not fully on board with this job. First of all, there's the wishy-washy thing that I brought up. There are several instances of him laying down and talking about his life, or openly complaining about his situation. It's clear that Gantu's heart's not in this job. But do Lilo and Stitch care? No. To them, Gantu's just an obstacle to get through. And this is really strange because this is Lilo and Stitch. Their whole purpose is to find all the other 624 experiments. I guess 625 if you count 625, or Ruben as he's known in the finale. Anyways, these experiments do some pretty terrible things. Like Slushy freezing their town, Deforester, well, deforesting, Bonnie and Clyde stealing, Melty melting everything in sight, Nosy bothering people to no end, and Felix attempting to kill everybody. No matter what these experiments do or how evil they may seem, they're always given mercy. The worst thing that happens to them, aside from being captured by Gantu of course, is Bonnie and Clyde going to jail. Even if, again, like Felix, they try to kill the main characters, the duo will never stop at trying to help these experiments find their one place where they really belong. And hey, if you want to go back even further, Jumba and Pleakley were a constant nuisance, even trying to rip this family apart by taking Stitch. While yes, they helped get Stitch back, they still did some pretty bad things before, but that doesn't matter, they're now part of the Ohana as well. They even get to live in the house rent-free. So why doesn't Gantu get the same treatment? No, the fact that he's on the other side doesn't count. If they took some time to actually talk with Gantu or listen to what he has to say, they might be able to come to an understanding. Sure, he couldn't fit in the house, but he could join the Ohana as well and fight against Hamsterville and make sure that these experiments aren't used as weapons. But no, they don't decide to reason with Gantu until the series finale, and then it's treated like Gantu is making a big sacrifice by coming over to the good side for once. But as we've discussed before, that's not what happened. Stitch got his own anime at some point, but you know what? I kinda wish it was about Gantu. Maybe it's just me being the villain sympathizer that I am. I mean, I did that here in the Montana Max video, and that sure confused a lot of people. But I can't be alone in thinking that seeing things from Gantu's point of view might be, as Pleakley would say,
fascinating, isn't it?
Gantu's entire life has been a series of Gantu having something good in his life, he gets a desire to get power and self-validation, and in the process loses what he valued most. When he ends up learning his lesson, it's too late. His name's been dragged through the mud. Sure, Gantu gets a happy ending at the end, but look at all the suffering he's had to go through to get it. No matter what he does or where he goes, he's the bad guy, no questions asked. Aside from himself, the only person who doesn't see it that way is too lazy to do anything to stop it. That poor, poor man. So that there is the story of Captain Gantu, who, in my opinion, is one of the least evil Disney quote-unquote villains there is. Gantu's in a rough situation and has no other choice than to be the bad guy, especially since the good guys, who normally preach things like love, understanding, and forgiveness, won't extend the olive branch to help him fix his messed up life. So until he comes crawling to their side, he's gonna continue to be a villain in name only. Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? What do you think is the most tragic aspect or moment involving Gantu? And hey, for fun, who's your favorite Disney villain? For me, it's obviously the bowler hat guy. I've talked about him once before. Honorable mentions, I think, would be, of course, Gantu. Also, Dr. Facilier, he's pretty awesome. Frollo, Maleficent. And then, of course, there's Yzma. Rest in peace, Eartha Kitt. Rest in peace. And now, it's time to thank our wonderful Patreon people, starting with our Masters of Fate. Chan 11, Drew the Stew, Kev Messick, MD the Dude, Platinum Bass, Quiet Chap, Ryan Williams, Timey, and Woody Woo. And now our executive producers, Alba Robinson, Blackjack, H.R. Hoffman, Indiscreet One, Leaf Storm, Ravioli Supremo, Unkale, and who else but Zane. If you two would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then please consider donating to the channel's Patreon. There's a link in the description below for you to check out. Also, there's a link to the channel's Discord server as well. Feel free to stop on by and say hello. Alright folks, thanks for watching the video and I'll see you guys next time.